Welcome to Soul Antique. I am Jordy, and today we're going to create this sun pendant. For this project, I'll be using 3 pieces of 22 gauge brass wire. However, feel free to explore other metals or gauges ranging from 20 to 24. To craft this piece, you'll need a grooved stone. In this tutorial, I'll be using obsidian. Take a look at the example of the first coil we'll be making. This coil consists of 20 mountains, with each mountain formed by 4 loops high. Let's begin by using round nose pliers. Maintain tension on the wire by pulling it from your thumb with the pliers. Notice that I'm securing the wire with my left thumb while simultaneously pulling it with the pliers in each movement. Try to execute half or slightly less than half of a loop with each wrist movement. By following this technique, we ensure the safety of our wrists throughout the process. Each of the mountains consists of a valley involving 3 movements, followed by an ascent of 2 movements. We continue an ascent of 2 more movements. At the top of the mountain, only 1 movement is needed. Moving downward, we execute 2 movements, then continue descending with 2 more movements. The sequence concludes with the valley, consisting of 3 movements. Thus, the sequence of movements goes as follows: 3, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 3, and so forth. It's essential to consistently employ the same height with the round nose pliers to ensure uniform loop sizes. Equally important is maintaining focus and concentration throughout this process. If an error occurs, rectifying it can be challenging due to the wire's nature. If you need to halt the wrapping process before completing the piece, it's advisable to conclude after the 3rd movement of a valley. Avoid stopping in the middle or at the mountain's top. Aim to stop after the 3rd valley movement. If you find this content appealing, please consider liking and subscribing. Your support greatly contributes to the visibility of my work in the algorithm. If you're interested in exploring more of what I do, feel free to visit my online shop at www.soulanticx.com. Once you've grasped the technique of creating a single mountain, you'll find that replicating it 20 times becomes a straightforward process. If time is a constraint for you, feel free to skip ahead to the 8 minutes and 36 seconds mark. While this technique might appear simple, achieving perfection can be challenging. As mentioned earlier, maintaining focus for extended periods during the initial stages can be demanding. Like with any new skill, dedicating effort is inevitable, and though it might lead to frustration, persevere. Mastering the art involves acquiring the skill of applying the right tension to the wire to achieve the desired shape. Try to consistently utilize the same height on the pliers, and progress through the piece using half-loop movements. With each new attempt, you'll notice a gradual improvement, until one day, executing the technique fluidly from start to finish will come naturally. Strangely enough, I've discovered that working on this sunweave technique resembles a form of meditation. With practice, it becomes progressively easier for you too. Don't allow frustration to overcome you. You are an artist. Don't let external opinions or inner doubts tell you otherwise. You deserve the joy of crafting jewelry, whether for yourself, friends, or even for sale, just as I do. This type of wire jewelry has given me the privilege to travel and lead a nomadic life across Latin America. For me, it opened the door to freedom and happiness. Similarly, many nomadic artists in Latin America have found liberation through this technique, enabling them to travel from Mexico to Argentina and beyond. This technique has been a nomadic tradition for decades. It requires basic and lightweight tools, setting it apart from other forms of jewelry making. It's truly accessible to anyone. Believe in your capacity to carve your own path. The satisfaction and inner strength that come with creating your first piece are unparalleled. As you master any art, that inner strength becomes an indomitable force. Remember, discipline is your greatest ally on the road to success. Practice begets mastery. When embarking on a new endeavor, be gentle with yourself. Be kind, because you deserve it. And your future self deserves it as well. It's important to grasp the method of cutting the wire solely with the round nose pliers. This cutting technique proves valuable for many pieces within traditional wire wrapping methods. Like any novel technique, it might pose a slight challenge initially, but you'll swiftly become proficient with practice. Begin by taking a piece of wire and gripping it between your thumb and the pliers, positioning them around 1 or 2 centimeters, about half an inch, from the end. Squeeze the pliers with moderate force, as you would with cutting pliers. Then, initiate a controlled up and down motion with the held wire, ensuring you maintain your grip. With a few attempts, you'll notice that you can cut the wire with precision and confidence. If you encounter any difficulties, don't hesitate to leave a comment. I'll do my best to clarify the process or even create a dedicated video to address the issue. Now, let's observe this technique in action using our piece. Securely grip the wire, then execute the up and down motion, and just like that, the wire is cut, and there you have it. Moving on to the second wire, we'll trim approximately 1 palm's length or around 8 inches of wire, applying the same technique. You can opt for standard cutting pliers or utilize this newfound cutting method you've acquired. Moving on, we will now thread the second wire through the first loop of the initial wire. After doing so, we'll bend this second wire and overlap it 2 or 3 times. It's essential to assess if the size is appropriate and if the loop can accommodate the stone. Utilizing flat pliers without teeth, I twist the second wire while holding the stone firmly. During this stage, the objective is to apply substantial tension, being careful not to snap the wire with the pliers, a more common occurrence than you might expect. One detail I haven't shown is that I occasionally undo the last knot if it seems to be growing too high along the wire, as the crucial knot is the lower one. After confirming the stone is securely held, we can proceed to work on the third wire. This wire will be the shortest. Since I work directly from the roll, I can't provide an exact length. Using round nose pliers, I form around 6 or 7 loops. As I finish the loops, the starting point of the wire should be on the back side of the loop. Leading about 1 centimeter or slightly less than half an inch on the front part, this excess wire will be transformed into a decorative spiral. For crafting the spiral, I employ flat pliers. I slightly bend the wire's end, keeping it as small as possible to serve as the center of the spiral. The smaller it is, the more rounded the resulting spiral will be. Using my thumb as a base, I secure the wire and gradually coil it, gripping half of the spiral with the pliers. It's crucial to proceed slowly, moving less than a quarter of the spiral with each motion. Although this specific spiral might be small, understanding this technique will prove valuable for larger spirals in the future. Whenever possible, I like to refine the piece by using a hammer and an anvil. Many of my spirals are flattened using this method. Now, let's conceal the knot from the second wire beneath the coil we've just fashioned using the third wire, gently pulling it down until the spiral is positioned above the stone. If necessary, we can slightly separate the mountains of the first wire to create space for the coil to nestle as deeply as possible. Now, we'll bend one wire backwards. This time, we'll use cutting pliers to trim the wire, as using the previous technique would prove challenging due to the lack of a proper grip. Next, employing flat pliers, we'll form another spiral. This spiral might be a bit more demanding since it's harder to hold. Following that, we'll subject the piece to hammering once again. Towards the conclusion, we'll gently shape the spiral by bending it using flat pliers without teeth. Shifting our attention to the next step, let's take the round nose pliers and create 2 loops as close to the second wire as possible. Since the loops might appear slightly off-center, I'll make a small adjustment backward with the pliers to bring them closer to the center. Then, I'll use flat nose pliers to guide the wire once around the loop, followed by cutting it with cutting pliers. After trimming, I'll press the wire to ensure it doesn't have any sharp edges. Finally, I'll use the round nose pliers once again to center the loops. And there you have it, our pendant is now complete. If you find this information valuable, I encourage you to share this video with friends, and don't forget to like and subscribe. A special note of gratitude to my patrons, whose support continuously drives me to enhance my videos. If you're interested in joining them, you can find the link in the video description. Thank you very much. See you soon.